Hi, my stamping friends. It's Marilyn Wagner here, Stamping Creations with Marilyn, coming to you today to share the cards that I have designed for the Bottled Happiness online class. I thank you for purchasing the class from me and trusting me with getting these designs to you, and I hope that you will have many hours of enjoyment with this bundle. So let me switch over to my um, actually, let me switch over to me first of all. So you can see, actually, I am here. So thank you for joining me. And remember, if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Just message me or whatever, and I will certainly get back to you for sure. So now my desktop is here, and I am ready to start with the cards. So I'm going to start with what I decided is the most time consuming. I don't think any of them are difficult, but this one is quite time consuming. So I'll show the card first, so that you can follow along with the tutorial you have. And remember, as you do this, the recording is there for you to use whenever. You can always start and stop it, go back again, and use the tutorial for the measurements. But I will give you hints and tips as I go along. So this one I did with just the stamp on the block. And you can see it's not perfectly even. So in your tutorial, I did mention that you might like to use the Stamparatus for this. Well, in my preparation for the video, I tried that and it didn't work as well as I thought. As you can see here, hopefully, the bottles, you can use the hinge method and stamp them. They don't overlap or anything. But then I was afraid that when I went to put my greenery in, they would overlap. So I'm going to, for the card showing you, I am going to just do it freehand again. And as many times we have mentioned when we are crafting, it's handmade. So people don't mind if it's not perfect. Otherwise, it would be machine made, right? So you should have in your package a 4 1/4 by 11 scored in the middle for your card base. Then a narrow layer of old olive, which is the um, not our regular. This one is our regular 5 1/4 by 4. So this one's the eighths, just a little bit more. I just thought it gave it a bit more definition if I put the color behind it like that. So I like to always do my stamping before I put anything together. I can fold my card base and burnish it because that's not going to change. However, if the stamping doesn't work out, I may have to change that. So as you know, it's only paper. I like to, especially when I have photopolymer stamps, which this is, I like to use some kind of foam mat underneath it. So I know you have your set, but it is a great set. I have used it quite a bit. I have some samples to show you as we go along. And I just want to show you the other thing I've done with it is I have, before I took the stamps off of the window sheet that they come on, I inked it up in black and not very thorough, but at least it's there, and stamped it on the other side of my insert so that I can see the words the right way instead of reverse like they are here. I do keep everything with my plastic here and try to line them up as I put them back, but sometimes that doesn't work, as you can see. I've also got in here a little envelope with some extra bottles that I've punched out from other cards. I've got a piece that was showing my team how to do the masking. And so just some pieces. And this is one of the masks that I had for the short stubby bottle. So I just keep it stuck in there. The one for the tall one we are going to use on this card, so I will leave it out. So when I began, I'm going to stamp my bottles first. And you can see they're all different shades of gray. I have got gray granite, and I think I did give you a list of all the colors I used, but they certainly don't have to be that way. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it And you can see it's quite a bit darker. So I believe on that one, I did stamp off. You may want to try that if it's too dark for you. But this will give you the idea. So there were my bottles. And that's all I needed the gray for. You know what? As I look at that, because my colors are not going to show up, I am going to stamp off and redo this. So, I need a piece of paper to stamp on. Just lining them up as best I can, but those are lighter than those on that side. So that will give us an idea. Then I went and I did have, before I had the masking paper that Stampin' Up! Now has, I used a Post-it note. So if you don't have the masking paper, which comes in a package with a number of sheets, but you can, what I did for this one, I'll just bring it in, I stamped, and then I was able to punch it out with the punch. With the shorter, stubby one, as I called it, I did have to fussy cut it, and this one worked when I did this. There was no problem with that. But this, using the masking tape, actually, it's sticky all the way. So you can put it over your vase. And then I stamped in Old Olive, which happens to be somewhere else. Right here. Or maybe not. It's not. But that, it's still on my shelf. Thought I was ready. Okay, so the Old Olive, I just took this branch looking piece out of the set, and I decided that I wanted, again, a varying shading colors in it. So, whoa, can't do that. So just stamp and move your mask. And carry on to however you want to place them. If you want to do them all dark, you certainly can. As you can see on here, I did one. Actually, I did two of them that were dark. But I like the variegated or the varying shades. So I think I will keep doing that. You can make them thicker. Not thicker. Just place them differently. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to... So there's my bases, but I am going to take this. Oops, I may have to get a new one for the next one I do. But I want to try, just because I had told you could use the Stamparatus, and I'm thinking that it might not overlap. You might be able to use it. And look at that. You could. So it will work. You'll just have them a little closer together than what I have there. Then the other thing that I was going to do, if I used the Stamparatus, was to place this and this, the other two stamps that make up these words, on another plate and use the Stamparatus as well. So everything would have been lined up that way. But because I thought it wasn't going to work, I'm going to continue this way. So my colors here, I just picked out a bunch of my, well, a Rusty, a Cajun Craze, Crushed Curry, Daffodil Delight, and Mango Melody. And I'm going to stamp the wine label in each different color. And because of that, I do need my simple chamois to clean it in between. And I don't think it makes a difference as to which ones you stamp where. The stamp is made to go around the bottle, or layer on the bottle, I should say. And you could, in some cases, if you needed to, you could use your punch to punch out that label. And I did one other one. I don't remember which card it was. And it the punch does work. So don't be afraid to try it for different things. My colors, because my bottle is quite dark, these colors are not going to, well, they're not too bad. Not going to appear very bright, but that's all part of it. And you could do them all in the same color. There's nothing that says you have to use the different colors. I just like the variety, and I wanted to use the different stamps because the stamp set was new, and I like using all the stamps in a stamp set. Then for the words, why not? Because I had different colors and whatever, I did use the Memento Black. And I will again. And that one I don't have to clean in between. And one of the great things about this set, of course, like so many that we have, is that photopolymer, you can see right through and see where to stamp. So that basically, like I said, this is, I would class as probably the most difficult, if you want to call any of them difficult, of the cards. But that's basically it. You have nothing else to do other than attach everything. And that is the easy part. So an envelope, I have a layer in between, and then I'm going to put that one on. And this one is the only card that I did with the 4 1/4 by 11, just for variety, but you could certainly do any of the others. That for your card base, they're all the same size card when they're finished. And again, I did not use dimensionals, but you certainly could. So just have some fun with it, and I'd love to have you share with me your designs when you do get them put together. You can always post them on my Facebook group and share and let others see what you've created. So there is that card. As always, you could stamp on your envelope, and an ideal thing for this one would be my little leafy thing, whatever it's called. And I really should have a piece of paper for stamping, but I thought it would show up better if I had the black mat just as it is, but I'll just do that for my envelope. And if the other thing that you could do on here would be to add some Wink of Stella, maybe to make it shine a little bit. But that is your card 1. So hopefully that has helped you there. And I will try to not lose everything here. The next one I'm going to show you is using the Stamparatus. And actually most of them after this will be using the Stamparatus. So this card is just with the images stamped in 2 different corners. And in your envelope, you should have a card base, a layer of Starry Sky to go behind, a layer 5 by 3 3/4 that we're going to stamp on, and a layer 3 1/2 by 1 that we're going to stamp the greeting on. So I will proceed to do that. My card base and my envelope can wait till later. The stamping comes first in my world. So if you don't have a Stamparatus, like I said, the photopolymer is great because you can see through it and see what you're stamping. So I have placed these on my 2 plates. You can't see, maybe you can see. And because I did cards for a swap, I needed lots of them, and I've just kind of left them on the plate. I had lined it up here. Now that is not going to work on this one. But because this one is the offset one, I'm going to have to just figure out where I want it, and then I'm going to place my magnets to hold it. And the neat thing about this, move it up just a little bit, you can see through, you can see where it is. I'm going to put my magnet, and if you're using this, remember, do not, or try really hard not to, have your magnets meet each other because they will break. And my colors here are the Starry Sky and the Balmy Blue. I'm going to start with my lighter one. It doesn't really matter. The other thing that is so great about using the Stamparatus is if it's not dark enough or not the coloring you really like, you can always restamp it because it goes back in the same place. That one's fine for what I wanted. And then I've got my case underneath to try and hold it from bouncing too bad. I don't have one here, and my light stand is kind of in the way, so I'm just going to do that, and I can see that it's lined up. I don't know if you can, but it's like I say, Stamparatus is wonderful for this kind of sets. So there you go. It's lined up, but there's one piece there. You can see it's still got ink on it there, so I'm going to try just a little more pressure, and it worked. So what I'm going to do now, if I can, is just flip it, and it should end up giving me the same design in the opposite corner. I don't care if it meets in the middle because I'm using my words to go over it. Where did I put my other ink? And yes, you do end up with that if you're using the larger ink pads like I am, but so far, touch wood, I haven't had that come off on my project. Maybe a little bit on my tape there, but there is what I need for this card. And I'm going to need that stamp pad. I'm going to clean up my stamp pads. I'm going to clean those because, as you might guess, the rest of the cards that I'm going to make, I'm going to be using the Stamparatus as well. So I have a very well used simple chamois, and I have learned that most of the time you don't have to rub with it, but if you just, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. If you just push it, or push, if you're doing it the other way, push the stamp into it instead of rubbing, it works really well. And it does, I use it lots. I keep it wet, keep it on my desk, and it's always there. If you're storing your Stamparatus, do not leave the plates in the hinges, and do not lay them on top of each other. This will stick to the back of there. So just a hint there. And let's get this card put together. So I have a card base that is regular 8.5 by 5.5. It is scored, but always line it up anyway, just in case I didn't score it quite right. I'm going to apply my Starry Sky. I'm going to apply this. And before I get there, I do need my words. And you know what? I don't think... Where did my stamp case go? Because I didn't take that stamp out. You know those best laid plans? Have everything ready before you start a video? Well, that did not happen. And I didn't, you may be wondering, okay, how come you didn't place that straight on the block? I find if I place it not straight, I tend to look more at the words than I do the block when I'm going to stamp, which helps with my placement on the paper. So that having been done, I can now flag the ends of my paper. You could use a punch if you have one, or a die, but on smaller ones like this, I tend to, or just using one of them, if you just cut in from the center and then in from each side, you can do just as well. And of course, our Stampin' Up! Paper snips are great because they cut right to the end. And that I will put on with dimensionals. And then I do have some embellishments to go on, just a few. I don't know if you can see those on the card. Just hold it up a little bit so you can see a bit of sparkle. And as always, you could certainly put Wink of Stella, I think, for flowers. I did this card, or a card using this set. It wasn't these cards, in a Facebook Live recently, and when I posted the picture, I asked for ideas on different colors to use, because I had used, remember, I think I'd used the Sweet Sorbet and something. Anyway, one of the ladies came back and said if she was doing it, she would do different color for each flower using markers. And I thought, okay, that would be really pretty, but it would also take a lot of time. And I'm not one for spending a lot of, I like simple, easy cards. So I'm anxious to see if she does one and shares it with us. I think it would be great to see. And like I say, it would be a neat feature. So then, because I wanted mine just covering those two where they meet, I think that's straight. I usually put it on and then I do this with burnishing it. And then I will add my Elegant Faceted Gems. And as you can see, on that one I use clear. I do a little bit of the more the champagne color. You can see that you can color them if you want a specific color with your blends. And there are different sizes, so I will probably stick to our rule of 3 that we quite often do in, I don't know how I'm going to get a triangle out of that, but in a triangle shape, but it gives you an idea of what the embellishments do bring out the sparkle in the card, don't they? So there's our card number 2. And again, you will have an envelope, so be sure and decorate your envelope if you so desire. Okay, on to card number 3. So card number 3, again, I'm going to bring in the Stamparatus. Whoops. Not sure I put the right plate in the right side because of what I'm used to. And this one is done in the Highland Heather. So you are going to have in your package, you will have a card base. You will have a Highland Heather layer. And then for the focal point on this one, I just used a smaller piece, a 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and the sending a little message is just on one of these little, and I think what I did for that one, actually, I've given you this, but I think what I did was actually stamp it and then just trim it with my paper snips so that it was going to fit around there. So we'll see how good I get at stamping that one. So again, I'm going to set up my plates and I'm going to line up my paper so that I have this right about there. I think I'm going to put my magnet, whoops, turn it around. That is going to be in the Highland Heather. With some pressure. It's almost like that paper isn't quite big enough, doesn't it? And the Mossy Meadow. Doesn't look like the right color of purple, but I think it will be okay. So that, and then I took my, actually I don't need my Stamparatus for it, but I will use my block and line up the short stubby bottle to be the vase for this one. You can see where I am in the process of getting a smaller, no, getting another simple chamois so that I can cut it in half and use it for cleaning things like this. So I'm going to need my foam mat again. And again, don't have all my blocks, all my stamps on blocks. So here is my 2 that I need for this one. Somehow, that will be for that. And this one I'm going to use here. And I just want to stamp and try and get that so it's fully covered and stamp it there. Then I'm going to do my words. And there are the pieces I need for that one. So you can see that the cards do go together quite easily, and you can always add more and more layers and whatever if you want. But the card does work. If you're in a hurry, careful, blue ink all over me. If you are in a hurry to get a card done or whatever, nothing's stopping you from doing it that way. Again, I used my liquid glue, and I'm not sure if I Just going to look at my Highland Heather and Massey Meadow, and I did put this on dimensionals this time. But just remember, you could have trimmed this out on my next one. I don't know if it's my next one, but one I have done and fussy cut it out with all around the flowers and the flower pot. And you could put that in the center. It doesn't have to be down near the bottom like that one is, but and once again, I took some embellishments and put on, and these are opal rounds, and they also could be colored if you wanted to. But I like the way they sparkle and everything that's underneath them just kind of shows through, so that's what I'm doing. So use up your embellishments. I'm sure that if you're anything like me, you buy those and then think, oh, where did I put them? Or should I use them on this? Or so there is our card number 3. So I will just keep piling baskets up here and on to the next one. The next one I have, and as usual, you've got your envelopes, so decorate it if you want to. This one is done using a die cut, which I have given you in your set. This layer is the 4.5 by 3.25, the regular 5.25 by 4, and your card base. And I have that left because I want to show you how I did that. Makes it a bit easier if you use a adhesive sheet. Yeah. You can, it's not that skinny. You could certainly put liquid glue on the back of it, but I did put adhesive sheets on. And what I did, had this strip, I was making a set of 4 cards, and I just put pieces of the adhesive sheet on and then made sure that my die cut was there when I was cutting it out. So I used on that one Petal Pink and Old Olive, which I put somewhere already. Oh, this one. Okay. So once again, I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus and show you how I can do the, and this time I want it right in the center again. Let's see if that's going to give it to me. Pretty much. I can put my magnets like that, and I will have to, I can see already, have to clean my short pudgy bottle to put in the, for the vase. So I use Petal Pink. It's a lighter pink and almost, it is pink, but it's got a different tone to it, I think. And then when I put the Old Olive on, it just made it pop. It was a great color combination. And I don't need those stamps anymore at the moment, but I will need my punch, no, my pudgy bottle, because I'm going to stamp him, but I think I will take him out of here and stamp it on my foam mat. And before I put everything away, I will clean those stamps again, because if not, I'm sure you can guess what will happen, is I will forget that I haven't cleaned them. And for the next card, we'll have a mixture of colors. So this one is done with Balmy Blue, I believe, yes. And yes, you notice me looking at the back of here. If you're making cards for a class or whatever, I find I list everything on the back. It helps me with getting the colors transferred to my tutorial, as well as doing something like this again. And again, it's just eyeballing it there. And I'm ready to put my card together with my thanks and my adhesive sheet. And that one, if you haven't used adhesive sheets before, I will certainly show you how easy it is. I did, and I've started marking some of my die sets with, like that particular set. I'll show you in a minute, so that I remember, because a lot of us find, oh, what did I do with that die set? Oh, I have it right here. I've started writing right on the description adhesive sheet. And then when I pull it out to use it, I will think, oh, right, I wanted adhesive sheets for that, because it makes life a lot easier when you remember before you cut the design out. So this one I did use dimensionals, and you could use dimensionals on any of them. Just whatever works for you. I left a larger border of the green. Don't look at my inky fingers, obviously. And then to put my thanks on, all I need is something. You can use your fingernail, or if you have to take your pick tool, just to peel up. And that's why you don't need perfectly the adhesive sheet on the whole area, because then it is a little difficult to peel this off. And be careful with peeling it off that you don't stretch it too bad, like I was almost doing there, but it's out of shape. So I could shape it however I want here. And I'm just going to start with that. And whoops, try not to have it stick to my fingers too bad. And it doesn't really, the way the die is made, it doesn't matter if it's straight in the line or not. And then on that one, I used champagne rhinestones, they're called. And they really sparkle. Okay, if I could get them off the paper. And we need one more, which is why I keep mine in these cases that we can purchase, because I find taking them in and out of the plastic isn't always the most convenient. So I usually do that with them. So another quick and easy one. So that is our card number 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are getting there, just a couple more. And then like I said, I do have some other samples to show you that I've made that were not in your kits. This one is the one with fussy cutting. So in this particular package, you will have your card base, and you will have a pink, whatever color that was, polished pink layer, and then a full quarter section of white to use for your stamping and for cutting out. So this one will take a little bit of time, but sometimes you know, fussy cutting is fun to do too. Oops, don't need that. And I'm just going to use that marker that I normally did. I'm going to stamp this with the pink, which is the polished pink. It's one of the in colors that stayed this year. And my well-used paper towel. Find it just easier to press down on here if I'm using the towel. Then I need the new Parakeet Party. Isn't that a brilliant green? Works so well. And I know I have a number of people I know that use the Stampin' Spots to do Stamparatus work because of that. But I don't have them. Well, I don't have enough of them for using for each color. And like I said before, I just find it easier, and I know that I can clean off between. When I did I think I mentioned at the beginning that I did card swaps, is why these are on my Stamparatus plates. I may have to take them off before too long so they don't stay there forever. But the cards I made for the card swap were all identical. So it was just a matter of stamp, 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 and then do any cutting or that I needed to. So it wasn't a big ordeal. Now I'm going to bring in my foam mat. This I need to stamp a greeting, and I need to stamp that, and I don't know if I've cleaned either one of those. So I will bring back in my chamois. And again, if you're cleaning just a stamp like this, if you just push down, see how clean it comes out? And let's make sure on that one. And then I need my green, which I left open over here. And I'm not going to necessarily line it up to stamp it. I just need to have it stamped so I can cut it out. And sometimes you see the little bubble things. Sometimes that's because I pressed too hard. Let's try that again. That's better. So this one I did press quite hard on the ink. This one I did not. So just be aware of that with the new stamp pads especially, because they're quite juicy. I will, while that's drying a little bit, I'm going to clean these. And I'm going to fussy cut fairly quickly, but you can, if you're doing a bunch of them, of course, stamp them all, sit in front of the TV or do whatever, and enjoy your time with the stamps. It's kind of soothing. I find when I fussy cut, I don't want the whole big card, so I would do this, and then just leave a titch. I read a Facebook Live post the other day about what's your favorite saying for a titch, a smidge, just a touch. Just a little bit of white around the edge tends to look better when you're doing fussy cutting than if you try to get too close to the image. And again, you're making a handmade card. Nobody is going to question that it wasn't perfect all the way around. So there is my bottle. My words, again, I just worked my way around the image. There is an awesome stamp set and dies that we have just come out in Stampin' Up that has dies that actually cut around like this. And I've got them just recently, but I haven't had a chance to play with them to put some sets together and whatever, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But this one I thought, trying to make it so that you can do with whatever you have. So there are my words. And then for my flowers, kind of the same idea. Not perfectly around it, but kind of around it, so that you have a bit of definition when you put it on the dimensionals and place it on your card. So a little bit different look. I'll just let you look at that one rather than watching me if you want. But it, I think, is a nice way to step up what you're doing. Takes a little more time, but that, again, it's not a huge thing if you're only doing 1 or 2 cards. And even if you're doing more, get it stamped and sit and relax and visit with someone, listen to a podcast, or, as I quite often do, watch a YouTube learning something else. And before you know it, you'll be done your fussy cutting. And there is my flower. So, once again, we'll put the card together by folding our card base. And I'm sure you have lots and lots of different papers, colors, matching. Again, Stampin' Up! Colors especially are, Stampin' Up! Is noted for its coordination. So any colors that you have the paper and ink for, they're going to match. It's not a matter of thinking, oh, did this work? Did that work? I am going to just figure out where I want it, probably about there, and I will raise the words and this with dimensionals. Like I said, I love the quick and easy cards, and doing an assembly line way of doing these would give you fairly quick and easy. You know what? I'm going to put one more there just to hold that flower. Hold the flowers out of the flower pot. Just sending a little message, and however you want those to go. You could certainly have on this one, if you want a background, you could do an embossing folder, or you could do a stamping with Versamark or with the same color, like in this one, the petal pink, or not the petal pink, the polished pink on the background. And then for my little flower centers on this one, I used polished dots. Again, this is an embellishment that we can, that one's still got glue on it, I might as well use it. If you ever find that those come off and they're not very sticky, use your liquid glue. It works well for adding a dot of glue behind there. You know what? Let's do 5 on this one, just because. And they come in different shades. They kind of a pink or the clear. And that, you can see the green shining through it. It's kind of neat. Like that. So there is our card number 5. And that brings us to the last one, which, I don't know, I like them all. This is the punch. I'm sure you've got yours by now. I'm using Tahitian Tide. And this one, you should have a card base. You should have a Tahitian tide layer that you can emboss if you want, a 4 3/4 by 3.5 for your image, and another piece that you can stamp and punch out your bottle. And these are ones that I had left over from that card swap, so I have some ready. I'm not going to punch those out, but you can see what happens with that. So using all of your paper like that, and I'm going to bring back the Stamparatus. And yes, it's been well used today, which is a good thing. It's a wonderful tool that we have. This is the embossing folder that I use, the painted texture. And also want to let you know that I do mark plate 4 when they're a 3D. I know that I've got to use that other plate. So my card center, focal point, whatever, is this one. Now, where am I going with this? I want to go over a little bit more because I am going to stamp right on this paper. So I want Tahitian tide for this side. And Parakeet Party for the other. Parakeet Party is what my punched out bottle is going to be. And you can maybe notice too that I did it through that same embossing folder. Just thought it was a neat way to spruce it up a little bit. So therefore, I will bring in now my sending a little message. That worked. And I need to close up my ink pads before I stick my fingers in them. As you can see, that happens. Okay. The card base. Do you ever have a messy desk? I usually get done something like this and look at it and think, oh my gosh, it's going to take me hours. I find that when I do the embossing, it does shrink it a little bit from the regular 1/4 inch down. Not a lot that it stops me from embossing, because I do like that, but it does. And when you're using the embossing folder, because of all the humps and bumps, the liquid glue seems to work the best, top or bottom, for it. So that will be my base. Then I'm going to use dimensionals on my bottle. And of course, I've got them flying all over the place, or the backs off of them. And I want to put it kind of at the bottom of the flowers. Just about had that over too far. And again, I will put some glimmer. So I have got iridescent rhinestones this time, and they are really shiny. And it's kind of neat. You just pick them up, go over wherever you'd like to put them, or you think you'd like to put them, and see what you think. Do they look good there? Do you want more? Do you want less? And last but not least, I did add, on that particular one, I added a bow from the In Color twine. And again, not difficult to do. I usually do a bunny ears like that, flip it around, tie it, bring it back to whatever size I want, and I'm going to attach it with a glue dot, but before I do that, I'm going to grab my ribbon scissors. These are scissors that Stampin' Up! Used to sell, and I have kept them strictly for cutting ribbon. I know some people use the paper snips, and I find mine anyway, I cannot cut very well with them for ribbon or twine. So I keep this handy. I have my glue dots right here, and I'm going to just roll that. Sometimes it stays on the roll, but tuck it on the back of there and attach it there. And there are my card for today for that. So your kits will be those cards. Now, I should have kept them out just so I could show you once again all of the designs that you've got. Try and clear up a little bit of space here. So lots of different colors. Hopefully you like some or all of them in those colors, and if not, use your colors. Like, that's what the whole idea is, that you can use lots of your colors as well. The other few that I do have to share with you, just to show you, this is one that I did with the bottles and the effervescent beads. So similar design, obviously, but the punches that out. The bottles fit in there perfectly. To show the in colors off, I did this to give out with my catalogs, and this is one I did with the embossing folder that has been retired now, the heart, Love and Happiness, that has the heart here in the middle, but I really like how the outline one works there as well. So hopefully those ideas help you, and as I said, just be sure to let me know if you have any questions. Reach out to me, and I will certainly get back to you. Take care now.